Hi, everybody. Josh Peck here. I have some bad news for you today, and because of this news, this is probably the most important video I've ever recorded, so please stick around until the end. It's with a heavy heart that I inform you that our son Nathan's cancer has returned. For those of you who have been following me for any length of time, you know when Nathan was 5 years old, he was diagnosed with T-cell leukemia, a very rare and deadly form of cancer. A few years after that, we were able to bring him into remission, thank God, but we always knew there was a possibility that it could return. He's now 11 years old, and unfortunately, that time has come. Even though he's been on a very strict diet and lives a healthy lifestyle, leukemia symptoms once again started a little over a week ago. We immediately took him to a doctor where our worst fears were confirmed. Nathan has cancer again. Now, we are already treating it. We have found an amazing doctor with a specialized team behind him. They are already treating our son and throwing everything at it. These treatments, however, are extremely expensive and they are not covered by insurance. We began the doctor's protocol as soon as we found out, and while we are already starting to see some improvements, we don't know how long Nathan will have to be on this strict regimen, and it is unlikely that our bank account will hold out until he is healed. If you wish to help, the absolute best thing you can do is pray for his healing and pray for the strength of our entire family. We have 5 children altogether, and it hits everyone in different ways. Also pray for God's wisdom and provision. If you wish to donate financially, and we would greatly, greatly appreciate it if you can, we have set up a Give Send Go campaign, which you can find at givesendgo.com/Nathan the Brave. We also have some other options available, which are PayPal, paypal.me/JoshPeckDisclosure, CashApp, which is $JoshScottPeck, or you can send in a donation to P.O. Box 270123, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73137. We also kindly and gently ask you to please refrain from sending us medical suggestions. We do understand that your heart is in the right place, but we already have an extremely specialized protocol that has been created for Nathan's specific blood type and other unique physiological attributes. We have an excellent doctor and a brilliant team of specialists behind him that we're following. We believe these people are literally a godsend, and we are being obedient to God's direction through this entire process. As I mentioned, we don't know how long this is going to take and don't know what the future holds. All we know is God is ultimately in control, and we trust him with our child. So please help us in your prayers, and if the Lord is leading you to help financially, the donation information can be found on your screen and in the description below. As always, I love you all. Take care and God bless. Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Josh Peck here. So last week, our video, the video that I put up did really, really well, so I thought that we would continue that today. Last week we talked about the 1290 days and the prophecy in Daniel and what that means with, the Antichrist, the desecration of the temple, and the Day of Atonement and all that. Today we're going to talk about the 1335 days with the Kingdom Age and Israel's escape to Petra and all of that, Pentecost. We're going to talk about all of that. And it's going to be kind of a continuation. If you missed last week's, it's okay. You're going to understand today's just fine. But if you do want to go back and check that out, go for it. It's just the TSR episode before this one. If you want a transcript of today's video, where it's really like show notes, but if you want that, there's a couple different ways you can get it. Also, if you want the full version of this video, you can go to dailyrenegade.com. There you'll get the full version of this video, plus you can download the PDF that has all the information from today's video on it. At dailyrenegade.com, there's also a community tab where you guys can fellowship together. Or if you don't want to download a PDF and you just want it like a blog post online, you can go to joshpeck.substack.com, and there you can get the audio-only podcast version of this. Also, you'll get the blog post that has all of the text there. Also, information from today's video comes from my 2-volume book set, Forgotten Prophecies of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which can be found at prophecywatchers.com. Okay, so let's dig into this. So, as a refresher, the verse that we're going to be looking at today, and it's the same verse we looked at last time, but we're going to continue on with it today. But it's Daniel 12:7 and 11 through 12, which says, "And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto the heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And from the time of the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days." So it's going to be that last line that we're really going to get into today. So while it's again, some of this is going to overlap from, or some of this is going to, the context can be found in the previous video, but we were talking about festival days and stuff like that, and how we dealt with that with the 1290-day count. Now, while it's tempting to start the 1335-day count on the same festival day that we started the 1290-day count, we're actually not told to do that in the text. It does seem like it should be done that way because the text talks about 1290 days, then immediately afterward it says, "Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days." So this is actually 45 days more than our 1290-day count. But if we look on our Dead Sea Scroll calendar, our Essene calendar, which many of you are familiar with. If you're not, I have a ton of videos about it. There's also links in the description below how you can get your own Dead Sea Scroll calendar. But if we look at our calendar, 45 days after first fruits of barley is Sivan 10, which is actually 5 days before Pentecost. And if you remember, last time we figured that when you add everything up and you do all of it, according to the Essene Dead Sea Scroll calendar, the end of the 1290 days is on the first fruits of barley. And again, that's Sivan. So we just have to count 45 days after that to get to the 1335. And that is Sivan 10, which is 5 days before Pentecost. So it's possible that the 1335 day count does not end on a festival day, and maybe it's really supposed to mean 5 days before Pentecost. Now, why would that be? We'll get into that in a minute. Now, would it be too much of a coincidence to notice what happens 5 days after the Day of Atonement? So the first day of Tabernacles is exactly 5 days after the Day of Atonement. By the way, if you want a free online source where you can track all this, dsscalendar.org, and then also in the very back of my Forgotten Prophecies of Dead Sea Scrolls books. At the very end of that, I actually have the calendar in the back of that you can follow along as well. So again, the first day of Tabernacles is exactly 5 days after the Day of Atonement. And if we start the 1335 day count, we arrive exactly on Pentecost. So it's interesting to note that Tabernacles is the final festival of the year, and Pentecost is the 6th. Therefore, from Tabernacles to Pentecost is half a Moedim cycle. Remember last week we talked about the times, and half a time and what all that means. So Pentecost is also called the Feast of Oaths. So wouldn't it be perfect for the new kingdom age, Christ's millennial reign, to begin on the Feast of Oaths? The age of grace began on Pentecost, so wouldn't it make sense for the final Sabbath age of Jesus to also begin on Pentecost? Well, as it turns out, the number here, 1335, might have been an ancient Jewish idiom pointing to Pentecost. So in a video teaching entitled 1335 and Other Idioms. My good friend Dr. Ken Johnson, who wrote the foreword to my books, and we worked together on the print version of the Dead Sea Scroll calendar, which again, link in the description below. But Dr. Ken Johnson in that video provides evidence showing that 1335 days can be understood as another way of saying Pentecost. So on the modern Jewish calendar, 1335 days after any festival does not fit because it doesn't land on anything. However, on the Essene calendar, there's only one instance of 1335 days occurring between two festivals. Those two festivals are what we already discovered, Tabernacles and Pentecost. So, as Dr. Johnson points out, 1335 days might have been understood as an idiom or like a turn of phrase for Pentecost occurring according to the ancient children of Israel. And as we can see, this works both literally and idiomatically. So, how do we make sense of that 5 day difference, though? Well, as it turns out, there actually is a simple answer that fits neatly into place with everything that we've already considered, not only in this video, but the one previous. So here's what's really fascinating. Let's assume that the abomination of desolation occurs on the Day of Atonement, like we talked about last week. Now, remember what Jesus said concerning this time. Matthew 24:15-20 says, "So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken about by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, let the reader understand, then those in Judea must flee to the mountains. The one on the roof must not come down to take anything out of his house, and the one in the field must not turn back to get his cloak. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing their babies in those days. Pray that your flight may not be in winter or on a Sabbath." Hey everyone. Concerning the economically unstable times that we live in, it is a great idea to convert some of your savings into real money. Now, there is a big difference between real money and what we call money, which is actually currency. So our dollar is currency, which fluctuates. Real money, like silver, is a store of value over time. The best way to think of it is like this. If you had saved $1,000 in cash back in the late 60s, the late 1960s, that $1,000 would still be $1,000 today, but it would buy you significantly less today due to inflation. Now, if you saved that same $1,000 in silver back in the 1960s, it would be around $28,000 today. So one of the best ways to protect your purchasing power is in real money, more specifically, silver. Now, you can buy and have the metal shipped discreetly to your door, and what most people don't know is that you can actually convert your IRA or even your 401k into physical silver rather than having all your life savings tied up in the paper fiat system, which is, of course, subject to hyperinflation. So go to dailyrenegade.com right now and click on the Cornerstone Asset Metals banner and sign up to get your free silver report. One of the financial experts will speak with you and find out the best way to protect your savings going forward in these uncertain times. You can also click on the link in the description below that goes directly to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Make sure you tell them that Josh Peck at Daily Renegade sent you. It is time to stop trusting the evil beast financial system of the world and protect your assets today. So when this horrific event occurs, Jesus tells those living in Israel, specifically those in Judea, which includes Jerusalem, to to flee immediately. He also says to pray that it doesn't occur on a Sabbath. Now, interestingly, the Day of Atonement is on Friday, one day or even a few minutes or hours, depending what time of day this event takes place, before the Sabbath of that week. If the abomination of desolation occurs a few hours or minutes before the Sabbath begins and people take too long to flee, they could run into difficulty trying to travel on the Sabbath. So is this why Jesus was saying to pray that their flight doesn't begin on a Sabbath and why there is such an urgency to flee? Well, this passage parallels Revelation 12:14, describing Israel fleeing to the wilderness and being nourished or protected. And most individuals involved in the Most individuals involved with the study of Bible prophecy believe this place of protection will be Petra. Now, according to tradition, Petra also has a location and population connection with Basra and Edom in the ancient past. So this might explain Isaiah 63:1, which we'll look at a little bit later. Now, depending on the route taken, Petra is somewhere around 100 to 125 miles from Jerusalem. Now, amazingly, as we discovered with some of the recent caravans attempting to travel to the American border and elsewhere, a large group of people can travel together an average of about 25 miles a day. So this quote, I have a quote here from the Republic, and this is about the migrant, it's for migrant caravan, the true distance of the journey ahead begins to sink in. This is from February 24th, 2021. So this says, it has taken the leading migrant caravan a week to cross through the state of Chiapas, Mexico's most southern state, covering a distance of about 180 miles, mostly on foot, averaging about 25 miles a day. So after that, it's just simple math. If a large group is traveling, so the abomination of desolation happens, and then there's this large group that's traveling from Jerusalem to Petra, at an average of about 25 miles a day, well, it would take about 4 to 5 days, depending on the route and whether they are traveling on the Sabbath. If a group travels 25 miles a day, then they could travel 100 miles in 4 days, because 4 times 25 is 100, or 125 miles in 5 days. 5 times 25 is 125. So whether or not the travel takes place on the Sabbath, if they leave Jerusalem on the Day of Atonement and head for Petra, they will arrive to their place of safety 5 days later, right in time for the first day of Tabernacles. So that's that 5-day discrepancy. So after that, they just have to wait there as instructed for the full 1,335 days, and they will be blessed by the return of Jesus and admittance into the kingdom age. It will be exactly as the scripture said. Blessed is he who waits and makes it to the 1,335 days. Isn't that amazing? So all of this math works perfect, and it works perfect on the Dead Sea Scroll calendar. That's what makes that calendar so amazing. It works from Genesis to Revelation. It spans the entire Bible. This is the calendar that the Bible uses. It's phenomenal. Well, and we do have some more to talk about too. Let me see here. And yeah, we have one more count to contend with. So far, we know that the reign of the Antichrist will be 1,290 days, or three and one half Moedim cycles, or 42 months, and we've seen how that fits with this period beginning on the Day of Atonement. We also saw that the 1,335 day count works with Tabernacles and Pentecost, when especially when you factor in that that's how long it takes them to travel. That accounts for that other 5 days that we looked at earlier. Well, now, earlier in Revelation, it speaks about Israel fleeing and being nourished for 1,260 days. So in Revelation 12:6, it says, "And she fled into the wilderness where a place had been prepared for her by God, so she could be taken care of for 1,260 days. So, counting 1,260 days after Tabernacles lands directly on the first day of New Year, Nisan 1, the spring day of remembrance. Yet, this is 75 days from Pentecost. So, we have to compare this directly with verse 14 to understand that there is a difference between these two time frames. So Revelation 12:14 says, "But the woman was given the 2 wings of a giant eagle so that she could fly out into the wilderness to the place God prepared for her, where she is taken care of away from the presence of the serpent for a time, and half a time." Now, remember from last week's teaching, as we saw earlier, 3.5 Moedim cycles from Tabernacles would be would bring you to Pentecost, yet 1260 days after Tabernacles is the New Year, the spring day of remembrance. So on the first reading of these two passages, they appear to be describing the same thing, but as it turns out, there's a slight difference, which turns out to be extremely important in accounting for the 75 days between New Year and Pentecost. So, Revelation 12:14 seems to be giving the total amount of time that Israel will be cared for. Revelation 12:6 implies the method by which Israel will be cared for. In Revelation 12, verse 6 talks about a place that had been prepared, implying a past time event, or a past tense event. God had already prepared that place. Verse 14 says that she is taken care of. Verse 14 moves ahead from the past provisions and describes the past and present together, while verse 6 seems to only describe the past provision. So in other words, verse 6 describes how long the measures God already put in place will last, while verse 14 describes the total amount of time the woman, or Israel, is cared for. So this would mean, if there is a discrepancy between these two times, that the method by which the woman is cared for changes. So the woman is cared for a total of 3.5 Moedim cycles. She is cared for by God's prepared provisions for 1,260 days. Then something changes, and she's cared for by something else for the remainder of the time. Now, before Israel ever arrives, Petra is already prepared by God, and this preparation is probably wrapped up in the natural protection of the area itself. So I have another quote here, and this comes from, let me see, Bible Guidance, and it's Israel's escape to Petra, the mountain stronghold. So again, before Israel arrives, Petra is already prepared by God. This preparation is probably wrapped up in the natural protection of the area itself. Here's that quote. At Petra, however, the mountains are about 1,500 meters high, being the highest in Jordan. They are of the most rugged and inaccessible mountain ranges in the world. It will be very difficult for the enemy forces to reach the Jewish exiles there. End quote. So the provision God put in place for Israel prior to the arrival of the Jewish people is enough to take care of them for 1,260 days. So that means if there is a slight time difference between the 1,260 days and the 3.5 Moedim cycles, the method by which Israel is cared for, it changes at 1,260 days, which again is Nisan 1, the spring day of remembrance. So the provisions that were already prepared, they either run out or they're no longer needed. Then on Nisan 1, something happens to take care of them a little longer. Well, what could this be? The answer is actually extremely interesting. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the first half of this episode of the Sharpening Report. You know, if you are a Bible-believing Christian who opposes the kingdom of darkness trying to run the world right now, then you are a renegade to the satanic system. We here at Daily Renegade wear that badge proudly. So, if you're a renegade as well and you want to see the rest of this video, head on over to dailyrenegade.com right now and get a membership today. Not only will you get the rest of this video, but you'll get our full catalog of Sharpening Report episodes and Daily Renegade update videos on topics such as Bible prophecy, science, technology, the Nephilim, aliens, and so much more. All of our episodes at Daily Renegade are early access, so as a member, you'll get the videos before anyone else does. Daily Renegade also offers videos not available anywhere else due to social media censorship. We also have a community page only for members where we can all fellowship together without fear of censorship. It's basically the best of Facebook and YouTube rolled into one without any of the garbage. Memberships are only $10 a month or $100 a year, and if you can do it, I suggest getting the $100 a year because it's cheaper in the long run, and essentially you get 2 months for free that way. So come join our family of renegades at dailyrenegade.com right now. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you there.